Take the screen down, James. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another Three Nations Dementia Working Group webinar. And we're all very happy to be with you this morning, and I hope wherever you are, you're warm and comfortable. This morning's theme is music and dementia and the impact. Music has the power to unlock memories and kickstart some of the grey matter to allow us to access memories that we may have not forgotten. It's a very powerful tool and rarely fails to respond and work with people. It's a very important part of the way that dementia is dealt with. And we got a really, as always, you've got a really skilled panel here to talk to you today. I'm going to just briefly go through the housekeeping, then I'm going to hand over to Grace Meadows, who's going to chair the rest of this meeting. My name is Nigel, and I'm chair of the Three Nations Working Group. And just to remind you, these webinars rely on you. We need your comments, responses, and questions, which you can put via the text boxes and Q&A boxes. We can't respond if you put your hands up because we won't see you. And I'd like to remind you that all these webinars are designed, produced, and presented by people living with dementia. We can't deal with individual queries, but we'll signpost via the text boxes when individual queries may be dealt with. Well, that's all from me. And what I'd like to do now is hand over to Grace, who's going to chair the rest of this meeting. Good morning, Grace.
Good morning, Nigel. Good morning, everyone. And apologies for my croaky voice this morning, but I'm really honoured to be with you and very grateful to be invited. And very excited to be introducing you to these three fabulous speakers that we've got this morning. I'm really interested to hear about their experiences with music, as I'm sure you are. And I will give you a little taster of each person before they share their stories and their own experiences with music. And we're gonna kick off with Stephen this morning. And so what I really liked learning about Stephen is that he's sort of the embodiment of something I talk a lot about, and I'm quite passionate about, which is being able to try something new with dementia, particularly music, because what we've learned is that you don't need to have ever picked up an instrument before to have a powerful experience with music. And this was certainly the case for Stephen. So he first learnt the piano since receiving his diagnosis in 2020 with no prior skills of music. So he'd never played it before. And also what I find really fascinating about Stephen is that music is more than one thing to him. It's both playing the piano is both challenging and comforting. And I think that's really something quite important to hold in mind, that music is more than one thing to people at different times, because our relationship to music is always changing, our relationship with ourselves is always changing, and our relationship with our dementia is always changing. And when all of those things interact, you can just take it a day at a time, rather. So I won't say too much more about Stephen, because I'll let him speak for himself, and he'll do it much better than I can. So over to you, Stephen.
Well, thank you very much. And yes, I thought what I would do this morning is just spend a little bit of time, an introduction about my diagnosis, a little bit about how I came to learn to play the piano, but then more importantly about what it means for me, how it feels for me to have done that and to be doing this. So I was first diagnosed in 2017 with dementia, but the neurologist was as clear as that. It was dementia, or it wasn't Alzheimer's, is what he said. That was a shock. I mean, it was a great shock. I wasn't expecting anything like that. About a year and a half later, I was seen by a different neurologist, and she diagnosed that I had frontotemporal dementia. And I think everyone's reaction, I mean, if you get that diagnosis, it's a shock. It's a huge shock. And I just remember that sense of loss. It felt like everything was finished. And you go through a process of dealing with that. And after a few weeks post-diagnosis, I just said to my wife, my partner, Bridget, I want to learn the piano. And I mean, look, in context, I've never played a musical instrument. I have a questionable singing voice, a very self-conscious singing voice. We didn't have a piano. So like, where on earth did this come from? But, the first thing we did is we acquired an electric piano. And I looked at it and I didn't know what I was looking at. I mean, 88 keys, kind of like, I didn't know where to start. I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what any of the keys, and I knew nothing about scales, nothing about chords, or anything like that. And I started out by looking on YouTube and some online tutorials, and that was good because I learned some very basic, some fundamentals about the piano. But after a short while, well, I don't know what it was, maybe a few weeks or so, I thought, well, I need lessons. I need someone to say, come on, that's try this, try that, or whatever. And Bridget found a local music teacher. Her name was Annie, and she was great. I think at first she was very nervous about the idea of teaching someone who has dementia, and I noticed in the first few lessons her husband was always in the background somewhere, and I think she was just naturally apprehensive in terms of what did this mean. And Annie was great because she let me take everything at my pace. There was never any kind of, oh, you must do these grades, you must progress this way. I was never interested in doing that. I mean, I took a view that if I could learn a nursery rhyme, that would be a success. that would be me really happy. And we straight away there's something about you meet someone and you're engaged with someone, and there's activity and there's a focus and there's fun. It was a good thing to be doing. I was very good, I think, at listening to what Annie said and just ignoring it. It was just. But I did practice a lot. I did, I think Bridget felt I was maybe a bit compulsive, but that was great. I mean, I didn't know anything, so that's what I did. And really, I think with hindsight, choosing the piano was a great choice. It seems to me a great choice because you've got fixed notes. I didn't have to do anything complicated like having to find a note on a violin or a guitar. I mean, you press a key on a piano and it plays a note, And so there's instant gratification there. You can very quickly get some sense of a tune, or So that was really good. So that's the context to all of that. In terms of what has it meant for me, well, I think fundamentally, I think it's a real sense of accomplishment. It's a long time ago since I had this sense that everything was finished. That I had a dementia diagnosis and that was it. You were done for. I've actually done something. I've learned something completely new, and you don't stop learning, and that's a massive. Feels like a massive achievement. There are lots of things that I can't do or I don't do as well as I did, but I've learned something new, and that's so positive, and it feels like a real gift in a way. That it's where did it come from? I don't know, but it's great. I find that music gives me somewhere safe to go, no matter how I'm feeling or what I'm thinking. I can just sit in front of the piano and I can just go into it, and I enter my own world, and I can play about, I can practice, I can do this. It's just a very lovely place to go, somewhere safe. I feel like I've got a new language that I never had before, and I can use music to to express ideas and thoughts, and that's really strong. And over time, I mean, I do a lot of my own music. The music has become like a diary for me. You know, it actually, I'm really bad at remembering my music, but then, you know, I've managed to record a lot of it. So I'll go back, oh yeah, and then it straight away takes me back, you know, to that place. I think I've been given a lot of self-confidence and a sense of who I am through music. It's a great thing to be able to. I think, like many people, I went through my life thinking, oh, you know, I'd love to be able to play an instrument, but you know, no one would ever put money on me learning an instrument. I mean, come on, Stephen, what? You know, you're joking. But I think dementia opened up a possibility there. I can't. Well, I don't know how that works, but it feels like, you know, I've done that, and that's great. It feels powerful that I did this post-diagnosis, but I don't know if that's relevant or not, because if anyone can actually learn something. I think it's maybe just an opportunity that came through. I've learned so many new skills through music, and I think I heard since about, there's lots of research that shows it's good for everyone's brain. You know, it lights up parts of the brain, and listening and playing and cognition, and you know, and I'm sure that's right. You know, I feel that in terms of my dementia, it's really helped. It's something that's been really good, and I've met new people, I've met new friends, I've been into a different community, not different, a new community, and all those things have made me feel, wow, you know, what a great thing to have done. So that's basically it for me.
Ah, Stephen, honestly, hearing all of that, and you talk so movingly and articulately about your experience with music is actually very moving for me as somebody who passionately campaigns this. To hear you say that in those ways is really quite special. I'm very touched by how you talk about music and what it does for you. Really touched.
Right.
Ah, I could say a lot. So, but we'll come back because I think there's some questions. Thank you very much for going on. That's fantastic. So, we are now going to hear from. There's a bit of interference on the line. I don't know if somebody has got their speaker on or something's happening, but if you're not talking, if you wouldn't mind muting, that'd be great. Excuse me. We're now going to hear from Martina. So I loved what I was reading about Martina because as a music therapist, what she says about music is exactly why music therapy is there to do its thing. So she talks a lot about it helps to express feelings and emotions where words might be hard to find. And for me, that's music to my ears as a music therapist, because that's exactly what we're trying to make happen when we offer people the opportunity to work with music. And I'm sure she's going to tell us about all the creative events and activities that she attends. So Martina, over to you.
Thank you very much. Stephen, that was absolutely brilliant, and you've done it. It looks as if it was totally ad hoc. I apologise for everybody. I went into a panic. My printer wouldn't work, and I'm reading from notes. So, good morning, everyone. It's lovely to be here at another such empowering webinar. My name is Martina Davis, and I have a dementia diagnosis of PCA, which is posterior cortical atrophy. That affects your sight and the back of your brain, and also spatial awareness. I was diagnosed in December 2019, so I suppose you could say I'm coming up to my 3rd anniversary of formal diagnosis. Now, I'm not sure that's one you should celebrate, but never mind, it's in there. When I look back, I think I've been empowered by music most of my life. As a kid, I sang in the church choir. drove my parents nuts with endless squeaky renditions on my recorder, and thought I was brilliant when I mastered chopsticks on the piano. But nothing brought me more joy than when we were going on a long journey and we would all sing in the car. I had 2 brothers and 2 sisters, sometimes compared to the Von Trapp family. I'm not sure whether that's a compliment either or not, but hey ho. Our mum was a great singer, and the eclectic mix we learned was fantastic. Even to this day, I can sing. Well, I can't really sing. I think that talent bypassed me when it was being dished out. But everything from war songs, Tom Jones, the 60s, Irish ballads. She came from a great Irish family of singers and musicians. And in fact, her mother was an all-Ireland folk singing champion. Rock and roll, you name it, we could sing it. As I grew, I became more and more interested in classical. And although these days, whilst I know the music, it's seldom that I can now name it, but that doesn't stop me listening or gaining inspiration. Back in the day, that inspired me, and with my parents' encouragement, I took ballet lessons. I passed most of my exams with honours and the odd one with highly commended. My interest in music just grew and grew. I achieved an audition at the Royal Ballet School, but back in those days, height and growth was taken into account, and apparently even then I was already too tall. Over the years, music merged with creativity, and I began to write, not seriously, but when something grabbed my attention. Now my life has changed. I write inspirationally, whether that's short stories or poetry. Even now with my PCA diagnosis, I haven't allowed it to stop my creative abilities, even though they have become less and less. And as the years passed and life progressed, this webinar made me think of all the things I had done that were linked musically and creatively. My photography, for example, and how it inspired me, and then others. And when asked, I would put their photographs into a video story form with music and voiceovers. Now this is just a normal thing to do, but back in the day, it was something unusual. One of the very first I made was for a very dear friend. Him and his wife had not long had a child called Pau, which means peace in Spanish, and it was coming up to Christmas. I asked him for as many photos as possible, and I set them to the music of Oh Holy Night, which to this day I find incredibly moving. When he played it, he cried. And one of the first things he said, it was the power of the music that had moved him so deeply. And so to the here and now, and where I am today, I remain as inspired by the power of music as I have ever been, and I blend it with my creative side. I'm now badly playing the piano because I can no longer quite connect keys with fingers. And when I do have a bash, I put headphones on. It's an electric piano, so I'm the only one hearing my marvellous Les Dawson renditions. I gave up the recorder years ago, which was a real hallelujah day for everyone concerned. I've always been a great believer, and in other work that I've done, that music makes a great connection with people, and it reaches places where a lot of things can't. And I think it's fantastic that it is now recognised as an invaluable support mechanism and a free way of expressing memories and reminders. But I've also come across people who, for whatever reason, find music and singing difficult. But they've found ways to express themselves through other mediums, such as painting, drawing, sketching. And the number of people who've said they've never painted anything in their lives, and suddenly they find this massive creative pathway that helps them express themselves. I've taken part in a creative group pilot, which had amazing results. And I also take part in another group, which, whilst it is music focused, it also embraces creativity. There are about 3 6-week sessions a year, and we work to a theme. The lead facilitator plays the flute, and there are usually 2 or 3 musicians from the Royal Academy, and sometimes a singer. This webinar seemed the perfect place to share something with you. The theme is light, and we were encouraged to send in photographs of any type of light, Ferris wheels at night, water cascading, anything that showed the different aspects of light, dark nights, clear skies, stars, moons. I walked into my bedroom one morning, just as the sunlight was streaming through the window, and as it shone through a cut glass bedside light, the light exploded onto the side painted wall and grey wallpaper with golden cranes flying, which was on the back wall. I photographed it. It was magical. I sent it in, and when I saw other people's photos, it inspired me to write this. When the rest of the group heard it, the facilitator asked if I'd like to choose some instruments. I think I chose the flute, piccolo, and there was either a harp or a mandolin. There and then, they improvised on the spot, which they constantly do throughout the sessions, reflecting our thoughts, inspirations, and photographs. James is hopefully going to be able to share the photo I spoke about. And as I read the words, try and imagine those instruments capturing the magical beauty of cascading water into pools, shards of light, reflections of light playing hide and seek, and sunlight swaying on spiders' webs. I hope you enjoy it, and thank you to everyone for listening and inviting me to demonstrate how I am empowered, not just by music, but by creativity too. La luz fantastico, the fantastic light. How do we perceive light? Is it just light? Is it just a shining beacon or a brightly shining star? How do we perceive that thing that throws shadows, creates patterns and kaleidoscopes of colour? Can we touch light? Can we feel light? Can light play on our emotions? The light I see through the day changes and dances in a glorious way. To see a pink candy floss sunrise, to a burnished copper at sundown, heralding the night's black shining beauty as celestial bodies wear shimmering gowns. Watching light through water, whether cascading or still, that myriad of colours, no, I can't get enough, I just can't get my fill. Ever changing, ever dancing, ever blending as one, just rolling, sometimes as shards and sometimes just fun. As I reach out and touch the colourful light, gossamer fairies whisk it away, leaving rippling silver in the sunlight. And as sun shines its light after grey misty days, I feel brighter and lifted in the hot sunny haze. Light touches my soul in so many ways. It's a true gift of life, despite up and down days. Neither nature or man can survive without life-giving light, be that in the day or deepest dark night. And as the day breaks on a brand new day, we hear the dawn chorus heralding, light is on its way.
Oh, Martina, that's beautiful. Really beautiful. Thank you for sharing that with us, and that image too. And I'm really struck by just how creative you are through and through in all aspects, really. And so lovely to hear your journey, the different things that you've done with music and the arts generally. And yeah, I really vivid images were coming to mind when you were talking about the music that you enjoyed and auditioning and dancing and just your overall love of music and the arts. So thank you so much for sharing your story with us. It sounds as though you really truly are empowered by music.
Yes,
lovely.
Totally. Thank you.
And now we have Eamon to talk to us about his love of music. And what I really liked learning about you was that you like listening to music while doing puzzles, and it was making me think about when I practice, I often have the radio on, and I do it because it makes playing a bit easier, because I don't know why actually, but it does. But it just made me think of that when I was learning that about you, but also the fact that music really helps you to relax and brings back memories. So over to you, and let's hear about your love of music.
Good morning. Mine's only a short story because I can't play a musical instrument. Never got round to it. I had many other things to do in my life. As for singing, I've been likened to a tomcat on a dark night. So I let the humanity get away lightly. I was diagnosed with frontal temporal lobal dementia just over 4 years ago. It was quite a shock, and I had a lot of time on my hands after I lost my job and had all of a sudden more time than I could deal with. Didn't know what to do. Then I started listening to my music. I'm a child of the 70s and 80s. I was brought up with all the power ballads, punk rock, glam rock, all the classics up to about the 90s, where they started singing stuff that I couldn't understand or listen to the lyrics any longer. I find music so relaxing. I can sit back, close my eyes and listen to a song, and it puts me in a place where I was when I first heard it. Classics like Jeff Wayne's War of the Worlds inspire me. I can sit back and listen to the album end to end and relax, have a couple of hours peace and quiet, unwind, and in general just be brilliant. Various songs in my life go back to various places in time, to when I was at different stages in my life, when I was young and foolish, and as I grew older, and then when my children were born. So various songs do mean a great deal to me. I do have a lot of sidelines now. I enjoy doing puzzles. Puzzles to me are very relaxing, but the music in the background is just as required. My puzzles are three-dimensional, sometimes four-dimensional. You get some technically roller coaster puzzles with barbarians going here, there, and everywhere, and you need to think about how you're doing it. Rather than getting stressed, I put music on, and it allows me to just sit back and think. Therefore, I can build my puzzles without any problems. And it means a great deal to me that at the end of it, I've achieved something. I can look back and say, I did that. I know that if I wasn't listening to the music, I would probably get the ump and put it back down again. I've done some beautiful puzzles over the time, and I find it so very relaxing. Music to me it's an escape. It allows me to unwind and relax. I also listen to audiobooks because I have a very large collection of music and a very large collection of audiobooks. Not quite music, but just the same. It puts me in a place where I can close my mind and I can dream and I can imagine the story, and I'm sitting there with it and I'm following it along. And that is so relaxing, and it's so good for my state of mind that somebody you must try if you get the chance. As I say, my journey and my story is only short compared to Martina and Stephen, but the power of music and some of the lyrics that I listen to are absolutely fantastic.
Eamon, you know what? I love that, because what you've shown us is that you don't need to have ever played an instrument in your life to feel the benefits of it. And I think that's the big myth that's still out there around the power of music, that you have to have been musical all your life or have learned an instrument. And I mean, all of your stories are incredible, but I think that just being able to find your music and know that your music works for you, and knowing when to play it, where you want to listen to it, why you want to listen to it, you know, in your case it's relaxing and being able to support you in doing your puzzles. It's that personalization of music that's so powerful. And I know that we were chatting a little bit before we came onto the call, and it's so nice to hear you talk about the types of music that you love, and that you can say that with such pride and passion, because you know we've done such a lot of work in trying to get us away from the Vera Lynn world of music, and the music of the 40s, and sadly there aren't a lot of people alive from the 40s, so the music back then doesn't hold the same resonance as the stuff that you grew up with. And I think that that's been a big shift in the music and dementia community, is going, actually, what music do people want to listen to, rather than, we're making assumptions about it. We're starting to be much better about being personal with music. I think it's really easy to make assumptions, isn't it?
Absolutely, yes. That's the tarnish we've got, that they automatically think back that we listen to Vera Lynn and stuff like that. That generation is almost past now. This is the next generation. They have to step us up a few decades. This is where we listen to the 60s, the 70s. I mean, groups like Bread and all the Yes and all the other groups, that was our generation that we grew up with. Yes, it was punk rock. Yes, it was glam rock, but that was our time.
Yeah, it's exactly that, isn't it? And one of the things that we've been trying to think about with the Music for Dementia campaign is the big buzzword is personalised care. So what we've been trying to say is, well, let's make music personal. I mean, there isn't anything more personal than music. You know, it's about people, it's about relationships, it's about connections, and all of that is really personal. So let's keep the music personal. Let's make it personal, because that's what matters to people. And I think that's what I've heard so powerfully from all three of you, is that, you know, just how deeply music matters to you in your own unique ways, you know, and I think I'm feeling incredibly inspired right now by the three of you, and I know there's some lovely comments in the chat as well about how music has made a real difference to people's lives. And I mean, I was going to say a few words, but actually I don't know I've got much more to add, because I'm really quite moved by all of your stories. But I suppose what would be useful for me to say, I think, I don't know, I am quite floored by the three of you, actually, because you say it better than I could say it. But I suppose if I've got a question here for you. So what would you say to somebody who's never thought about using music as part of dementia care, or never even thought twice about putting the dots together around music and dementia? What one thing would you say to somebody? Bit of advice. Go on, Eamon.
Well, my advice would be look into their background of their age group. Music, no matter how far down your journey you have travelled, will be one of the last things you forget. It'll be something that will bring you back. It will invoke memories. It will invoke passion. It will invoke feelings. And if you can just do a little bit of homework to personalize that care to that person, and possibly show them a few videos or songs or whatever need to be shown, it will be the trigger, and it will make them very happy, and you'll be doing your job. That's exactly what you're there for them. And I think that, you know, I've got a list of songs that I listen to on a playlist, and I've even got a backup system should I erase it, which, trust me, I have done on occasion. Emails come and go better than snowflakes. It's a case of that 5 minutes homework, just listening when you're talking to that particular person. You know, what did you used to like when you were listening to music? Answers the question. And with that, you've got everything you need to just do a little bit of homework and make their life so much better.
Oh, personalized musical conversation, 5 minutes. Now that doesn't cost a lot of money. That just requires a listening ear, right? Oh, Martina.
Yeah, I absolutely. You've said half of what I was going to say, Eamon, and I believe honestly that it is about asking a question, and a few leading questions. It's surprising what answers you get in anything. And what I'm coming across is it's so easy to just say to somebody, I'm going to use a phrase which actually, I don't mean to offend anybody, but it's easy to pack somebody off to the daycare centre, isn't it? Because, you know, there's art and craft going on and there might be a bit of singing. And somebody once said to me, but actually I don't want to go because nobody's actually asked me what I like. And what I'd really like to do, but I don't think they have them anymore, is I wish I could go and listen to a bandstand. So coming back to what Eamon's just said, if I was the person that suddenly had that information, I'd be saying, well, did you ever play a brass instrument? Were you ever in a band? What's made you want to listen to that sort of music? And I think asking questions is within dementia is very, very thin on the ground, very thin. And yet if questions were asked, everybody's lives would be made a lot easier, because you'd be getting to the nub of what people want, that's in their hearts, but what they remember and what they will actually give will bring them not just joy, but peace.
Yeah, that's so true. And it is that peace, isn't it? That peace, that sort of sense of contentment, even if it's only a 5-minute feeling, it's still there, you still have it, and you know you can still connect with that feeling. It's so powerful. Eamon.
Martina, you hit the nail on the head so perfectly there. It's a case of that few minutes talking to them when they've asked a question or given you an idea as to
Mm.
finding out why. Once you've done that, you can then do your homework. A couple of minutes is all it takes, but the pleasure that it gives that one person is timeless. It is beyond measure. You can't measure it in 5 minutes of your time. Once you've got that kind of information, you can carry on playing them that kind of music. If they like brass instruments, if they like opera, you know, what can I say? Classical music. I know people. I'm young onset, so my genre is somewhat different. But I still listen to classical, and I can actually listen to a part, say, for Wagner, Ride of the Valkyries. Absolutely brilliant piece of music. I can sit there and close my eyes, and I can watch the horses go across the battlefield. That's my imagination. But to me, for that time of that piece of music, is priceless because nobody else can see what I can see. Nobody can hear it the way I can hear it. It's personal to me, but
Yeah.
it's so personal to me.
Yeah. So true. So true. Stephen.
Well, yes, I mean, I can't add anything to what's been said, only aside from, sometimes if you find yourself listening to somebody else's music, that can be really good, but it can be sometimes really difficult, because if it's just packaged onto you, it's like, oh, you like this, and sometimes oh yeah, I do, but the music is so personal, and that you know what you like, and it's important that other people kind of can have that conversation with you. But
Mm.
as people are speaking, I'm thinking, I remember times when you've had to sit through kind of some show or something, and it's like it just hasn't been you, and that feeling of when's this going to end? That's the opposite end of what we're saying, but it's equally important because people who are receiving service can be put in that position that somehow it's given to them, it's presented. And it's like you're supposed to enjoy it. Well, you might not.
Yeah.
You might not.
And I think it's so good that you've raised that point. I often talk about music coming with a health warning. People talk about music being magic and that kind of thing. And well, we know it is a bit magic, but it's also got its scientific base. But if we think about magic, well, there are also the dark arts, and there's two sides to everything. And I think that's exactly what you're saying, Stephen, which is that, it's about being with and not doing too with the music, right? It's not about those assumptions. It's not about putting music onto people. Because the other thing I was going to ask all three of you actually was, I very much appreciate that when you have dementia, it can affect how you process sound. Whether it's harmonies or the timbre, the pitch of an instrument, how busy a track might be, the combination of words and music. And I remember speaking to a lady once with a similar diagnosis to you, Martina. I think she had PCA dementia, and she said she was so devastated because she used to love music and she could no longer process it. And so we talked about doing a little experiment, and I didn't know whether I'd see her again because we bumped into each other at a conference. And we said, how about we start with a little microdose of music, if you like? So start with like 15 seconds. And then, if that works, then do that for a few days and then build it up and build it up and build it up. And I said, but pick something that you know that you used to love. Don't try and listen to something new. Give your brain half a chance to be like, I do know what this music is. I know I've got an emotional connection with it. We're just going to build up. And anyway, we fantastically managed to bump into each other about 6 months later. And she came running up to me and she said, I've done it. And I said, oh, what have you been doing? And then I remembered, I was like, oh yeah, we had that conversation. And she said, I'm up to about 10 minutes. I can do it. She said, I've got at least 2 songs I can listen to now. And she said, I'm still trying to make it grow. And she said, I have good days and bad days, but I've been trying to build it up over and over and over so that I can, tolerate music again. She said, just being able to know that I still have a connection with music is incredibly reassuring, that I can still have that that connection. So I suppose that there's a question in the chat I'll come to next, but I just wanted to hear from the three of you about whether you have any experiences so far with your diagnoses of what that's done in terms of processing music. Martina.
This your lady is absolutely right, and if there's any, PCA is distressing, just like any dementia, but noise, sound, music, televisions, everybody knows now if I go to the house I need to turn it down, because processing those loud noises, processing too many voices, processing too loud music. I mean, I was a great rock and roller back in the day, but it's really distressing. It's really distressing. So now I tend to, things are more, you know, I'm a coward. I just go for things that I know that are a bit gentler, that I still want to have the enjoyment of music, because music lifts me, music lifts my soul. And I still want to enjoy that. And I want to enjoy the emotion of actually my soul being lifted by what I'm hearing. So again, I suppose I've tackled it in, I suppose, the more obvious way, which is don't distress yourself. On a really good day, I'm there with Elton John. Don't shoot me, I'm the piano player. I really am. And that is absolutely top volume. And I know I'm having a good day if I can listen to old Elton, you know. But yeah, noises, sound, distractions, very, very distressing.
So I think that's something that people need to be much more attuned to if they're providing musical services for people with dementia. That I often say, look, understand the person. Back to your point, Eamon, it was about keep it personal, find out how that dementia is interacting with them, what it means for them, and then how that relates to their musical experiences. But Eamon and then Stephen.
Martina was absolutely right. The volume is very important. That's why I listen to the music in the background while doing the puzzles. One of my favourites, although I can't remember the lyrics unless the song is playing, is Don McLean's American Pie. And I can get it word perfect if it's playing. I can't get it if it's not playing. And normally I've got an MP3 or earphones on, so I'm not distracting somebody else in the household. I've had 2 vets turn up threatening to put me down because of the wailing. It's one of those things. That's my personal escape route. I can't quite shut myself up when I'm singing a song. I can't quite modulate my own volume while I'm listening to it on an MP3, so I don't deafen anybody else. But my singing is terrible.
But hey, you love it, so that's great.
Absolutely. That's my job. I mean, Don McLean, that takes me back to a time where I was a motorcyclist. As I grew up, I was in the motorcycle trade, so I used to rallies and everything else, and that was our way of life. You know, motorcycles and bikes and leathers. And it's a case of even the first few words, and I'm back at that place.
Amazing.
You know,
and that's the power of it.
The fantastic times of the weekends, the camaraderie, the friends, some who still remain, thank God. It's a case of it takes me back, and I can just sit there and go, yes.
Yeah, wonderful. That's amazing. Stephen.
Yeah, I can't remember anymore, but I think it was something about the interference, you know, having too much going on at once, that I found that now that's much more difficult for me. You know, if there's music on and then there's something else going on, there's people talking, I can't process that, and that and I can get distressed and you know, and I mean, you go to a supermarket, you know, and there's music on, and there's announcements, and there's lots of visual stuff. It's kind of just it becomes overpowering, and so that thing about for me with music, it's that if I'm listening to music, that's what I'm doing. For me personally, I don't do it whilst trying to do something else. I never have been someone who had music on in the background. That's just the way I'm put together. I think that's more extreme for me now.
Right.
You know, I'm focused on what's there and then, and I find distraction quite awful sometimes.
Yeah. It's interesting. I think you've all said it actually in different ways, but the idea that music really focuses you and helps you be in the here and now. So it gives you that escape, it gives you the memories, but actually what it does is give you that peace of mind, that clarity, that contentment. And you can't buy that. You know, that's what's so amazing about it. Hillary's put a great question in the chat. Do you know if music has been tried as an alternative to antipsychotic medication? It has, and amazingly, some of the results have shown that it can reduce agitation by up to 67% in people living with dementia. And I think that actually the three of you have shown us exactly why. You know, the idea that we might medicate somebody because actually they're having a bad day, for me, it doesn't feel right. And, you know, I know everyone will have their own opinions, but I know what I would want. And I would want my favorite song, my most comforting, reassuring piece of music that's like this massive, great big musical hug, wrapping its arms around me, telling me that no matter what's happening, this piece of music is going to let me know things are okay. And I think it feels very, very foreign to me to sort of want to medicate somebody. But I understand that, you know, time pressure, thinking much more about in the care sector where, you know, we know there are lots of pressures. It's not an excuse by any means, but I think it comes back to your point, Eamon, about make time to have that 5-minute conversation, make it personal, find out what matters, because it will save you hours in the future, you know, and it will mean that people's quality of life is just so much better because they're being heard and they're being seen and they're being felt. And that's what music does. And I think that's what I've also heard from the three of you this morning, is that music allows you to express your sounds, it allows you to go into your sound. And but it allows people to see you and to hear you and feel you and to feel your passion and your connection and your stories, you know, where your lives. And I think it's really extraordinary. So just coming back to Hillary's point again, we need to do so much more research around that, because I think it's a very powerful argument in terms of making music an integral part of care. But I think there are kind of ethical issues around somebody not having medication and others having medication. But nonetheless, I think there is much more that we could be doing to promote the benefits of non-pharmacological interventions, i.e. music, for people living with dementia, because I think there's just so much good to be had. Amen.
Yeah, I mean, you talk of a certain song which allows you to just unwind, relax, and be in your own space. We've all got them. I mean, mine's dead simple. Mine's Forever Autumn by Jeff Wayne. Well, that's a personal one for me. I can put that on and instantly I'm at ease with the world. I've got no stress. I listen to the lyrics. I want to finish it. I can either carry on listening to other songs, or I can just then get on with what I was doing, and the point that I was at where I needed to listen to it is gone.
Yeah, absolutely that. Ladies and gentlemen, I would love to stay and talk with you so much more. I could talk to you all for hours about this, and I've been really, 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 really moved by what you've shared today. And I'm really grateful, and it's given me lots of inspiration for my job. So I'd like to say a massive thank you. It's been a real privilege to be asked to be part of the conversation this morning. And I've loved it. And I'd say it'd be great to get a Three Nations Dementia Working Group playlist going. I'd be up for that. And then we could put it on the radio. We could put it on M4D radio. So if everyone wants to chip in a song, we'll make a playlist and we'll pop it on M4D radio. So a huge thank you. And I'm sorry I can't stay right till the end. I've got to jump onto another call. But thank you again for the invitation. And thank you, Martina, Eamon and Stephen, for sharing your stories. I've loved talking with you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Grace.
Take care, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Well, I'm here to see you through the last 10 minutes of the webinar. And if I put a musical theme on, it's a bit like having a ukulele following Jimi Hendrix. Stephen, you had your hand up there.
Yeah, I think it was just the power of music. It's just this thing that most of us only have to hear the start, a few bars of a piece of music, and we immediately kind of know what it is. It really triggers that memory, that emotion, and that we don't go halfway through a song or a piece of music before, oh, I remember. It's there straight away, and that's really powerful. It's sometimes just say the first few notes of a piece of music, and you're there. That's all I want to say to that. It just for all of us, it's just such a trigger, it's there. And if it's a piece of music you like, it's even better.
Yes, I mean it's been my experience that I'm very much like Eamon. If I'm doing something, music helps me do something. If I'm writing something, or and it's a presence in where I live. I mean, I have got a certain message machine, a certain electronic device which lives in the corner, goes with the name of A. I won't say name because you'll activate it. Who who is on quite quickly, but there's no doubt about it that I think we underestimate the power of music, and it's always very difficult to sum up and finish these things, because music means so many different things to so many different people, and has the ability to make you feel very, very sad, very, very happy, in equal measure, because of the circumstances around the piece of music you listen to in the moment. But it is a way of getting to people. It is a way of bringing what's considered lost memories back by playing this piece of music. And I just, before we go to the next and last segment of this, we're gonna play you a little video in a minute, of a lady called, with a fantastic name of Marta Cinta Gonzalez Saldana, who was a ballerina with many of the companies, and she died in 2019 of Alzheimer's. And this particular piece of music shows you the power, shows you how it evokes memories, and it absolutely took this lady back to when she was dancing in the chorus of Swan Lake. James, have you got the piece of music? Have you got the video lined up? Okay. Thank you, James. I don't think that any more needs to be said. If you saw the engagement of that lady, she was back to where she was. And this is the power. Only music can do that. That's the only thing that can do that. I think we take for granted that. I think when our functional memories go in dementia, but a certain large proportion of our emotional memories stay, but just needs that trigger. If you saw the, you saw for yourself the way the lady became instantly engaged, and she was back there dancing in the chorus of Swan Lake. I think that's fantastic, and that should be imprinted. That should be part of a training pro. You know, that's no matter where you are in your journey, things can get to you. Well, all that remains for me is to thank you all for taking up, to thank our wonderful panelists, to go on to Music for Dementia website, do your playlist, have a look around. It's cheaper than Spotify because it's not charged, and it's better than Amazon. It's a bigger range of music. So thank you, everybody, and have a good Christmas. When are we seeing you soon, James? When is the next time you've seen them? Can you put the next webinar up on the screen, please? The next webinar is on the Tuesday, the 10th of January, and the subject is the cost of living crisis. And we're hoping that a lot of people turn to that. It's a very important issue. So, from me and the panelists, my thanks to the panelists, my thanks to the participants. Thank you so much. Have a great Christmas. Go careful, be safe, and goodbye.